Yeah, thanks for joining me after the third game. It finished today. Nottingham Forest 1, Wolves 1. So we're off the mark. First points of the season. Similar to last season when of the third game, I believe it was away against Everton and we won 1-0. And it could have gone either way. But thankfully we got that late goal with Sasha Kalajdzic getting his first goal then. And today it was 1-1. We've had three games, and you could say that we've been competitive in two and a half. Last week it was an horrendous 14 minutes at the start of the second half, where we shipped three goals after a very competitive first half. And today, not surprisingly, the manager, after the trauma of conceding them 6 goals, he didn't trust the 4-4-2, so he resorted back to the tried and trusted, the 5-man in defence. It was good to see Dawson back after a good performance in midweek against Burnley, Molineux, and after serving his 3-match suspension, Semedo was welcome back in the expense of Doc, and he was back to himself. It's quite solid and dependable. He ran out of steam about in the second half with about 15-20 minutes to go, and after cramping up a couple of times he had to be substituted, but he did well. He played like he hadn't been away. But the game overall, I'd say it was a fair reflection because they, the home team, as you'd expect them to have more possession. They had 52% to 48. They had 16 shots to our 11, 5 on target to our 3. But we should have opened the scoring very early on, possibly in the opening minute, after some good play in midfield by Cunha, who slipped Aït-Nouri through, and maybe he could have scored, but he didn't, and it was them who took the lead. Chris Wood, he must wish he could play against us every week. He scored an unmarked header, which is disappointing from a defensive point of view. Possibly Totti should have got up, and the goalie had no chance. It was interesting to see Johnston getting his debut, which makes it quite obvious that Sarr is on his bike, and the transfer window hasn't shut yet in Saudi Arabia, so it's almost inevitable that Sarr is going there. It's only a question of how much are we gonna get for him. Yeah, it was a great response after they scored after about 10 minutes, because we equalised about a minute later with a tremendous 20-yard shot by Bellegarde. He almost got one against Arsenal the first match, with his shot went just over the bar, but today it was a brilliant shot. Their goalie had no chance, and so it went in at half time 1-1, and the second half we gave as good as we got. 53 minutes, Cunha had a good shot after Aït-Nouri won the ball, and but Cunha, he did a heavy touch, and then the chance was lost. Johnson saved well from Wood's header after 64 minutes, but we'd have been disappointed if we conceded a goal for that, because Gibbs White, he just flicked it up, and then Johnston had to do a diving one-hand save from Chris Wood's header. There was a Cunha shot 66 minutes after a scramble following a corner, and then 75 minutes the manager, he got a yellow card because he was protesting against possible penalty against Wood. But having said that, if we got a penalty for that, which would have been a penalty last season, they might have had one for something very similar against Strand Larsen in the first half. So you can't have it both ways. So it was probably fair. And there was a chance towards the end where Wood again, that man. There's always a thorn in our side. He had one disallowed by VAR for offside. It was oh so close, but it was right. But it was interesting. Back to 5-3-2. Like I say, we needed that point. We needed to arrest the defeat. And also the Andre, the new guy, came on at the end. And at one time, I thought the captain Mario Lemina had a serious injury when he went down, clearing an interception across, which went out for a corner. He was down for a few minutes, and thankfully he got back up and he came on and played on. But next week there's no game on the 7th because it's the international break. And then I believe the next game back is against Newcastle at Molineux. I remember I went to that. It was on my birthday last season in October, and we drew 2-2, coming from behind twice. And we were on the wrong end of a VAR controversial decision for a penalty against Wang. And that was the game where Neto did his first hamstring injury of the season. But it's good to get our first point. Everton still below us. I believe there's one other team with 0 points. But yeah, we're 4th from the bottom as opposed to 2nd from the bottom. But we needed to arrest the slide of consecutive defeats. So we'll take the positives and we'll move on to the next game, onwards and upwards, up the walls, and keep the faith.